Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in today. I have an exciting video for you. Today we're doing a full review on the iconic Rolex Explorer. Now this model is the most recent model that Rolex has been putting out. The reference number can be found there in the title and in the description of this video. This watch is on loan from my friend, my dentist friend from my church, so special thanks to him. You might remember that he loaned in a watch from the Ball Watch Company a few videos back called the Ball Roadmaster Vanguard. You can check out that video right there if you're interested in that. But I really appreciate the kindness of my friend in loaning in some of his watches to the channel. It's very kind of him. So I'm excited to look at this piece today. Now, you know, there are plenty of videos on it on YouTube, but I'm excited to give you my take on it. So I hope you enjoy the video today. Let's get right into it. Alright, well, let's get into it. You know, I had to include the beautiful green colored Rolex box. Just a really amazing, nice box. So I had to quickly add that into the video as we get this started. Let's crack it open and check out the watch. Hey, that's not the Explorer. Oh man, that's the Homage. How did that get in there? From AliExpress. I'm sorry guys, I'm just messing with you. You know, I probably triggered some people. How dare you put an AliExpress watch in a Rolex box? That's blasphemous, but I just had to do that. I'm sorry about that. We'll set that to the side, set it back here, and bring out the real Rolex Explorer. There it is in all of its glory. But I do want to say I will be doing a video comparing both of these watches, so you're going to want to stay tuned for that. Homage watches are very popular today, but you don't see a lot of videos people putting them side by side with the real thing, so you're going to want to stay tuned for that video. This video is about the real Rolex Explorer, not some Homage from AliExpress. So let's get this out of here and talk about the real thing. What a beautiful piece. I've just loved my time with it so far, and just iconic. That's what I have to say right off the bat. But before we go any further, let's start off with some specs and features. I'm going to try and zoom in here and throw those specs and features up on the screen next to the watch. So this is the most recent model of the Rolex Explorer. So it's 21427, that's 270, that's the model number. And the movement is, of course, Rolex in-house 3132 movement. And we'll talk a little bit more about some specifics about the movement in a second. Crystal is sapphire, and the case material is not your typical stainless steel. If you know Rolex, they have their 904L that they use, and according to Rolex website, the stainless steel here, which they call oyster steel, is part of that 904L family. The case diameter on this watch is 39 millimeters. The case thickness, as I measured it, is 11.2 millimeters. And the lug to lug is 47.3. Now the bracelet does slightly protrude past the lugs, as you can see. I measured that for you at just under 49 millimeters. Lug width is 20 millimeters. Band material is also that oyster steel. Water resistance on this watch is 100 meters, and then as I weighed it, I think with all the links, I weighed it in at 136 grams. Let's talk about that in-house Rolex 3132 movement. It's a great movement. It's robust. It's tough. Of course, this is a chronometer certified movement, and they've also added the designation superlative chronometer. That does mean something. Once Rolex gets the movement back and puts it in their watches, they run it through some more tests themselves, and they get it to a point where it is accurate to plus minus 2 seconds per day. So it's even more accurate than your typical chronometer certified movements. This is a complete in-house movement from Rolex. of course. There's hand winding, self-winding, there is stop seconds hacking, and the power reserve here is about 48 hours, and the vibrations per hour are 28,800 vibrations per hour. So great movement, very tough. There's a lot more specifics about the movement that you can look up and find out, but those are the basics anyway. The design and durability of this watch, it's an iconic piece. It has a rich history, a cool story behind the Explorer line and how it came to be. I hope that you'll check out some articles and videos on that. That's not the purpose of this video today, and I honestly don't know all of the history. But it is an iconic piece that has been around since, I believe, 1953, and then this particular version has mainly stayed almost unchanged for a number of years. Let's talk about the case starting off. I think it's a beautiful case. The design, and first off, the dimensions, I think, are just perfect, especially for someone like me with smaller wrists, having 6.5-inch wrist, that 39 millimeter case diameter, and the below 50 millimeter lug to lug distance fits perfect, and it's so comfortable on the wrist. It's not a heavy watch. It's a very thin, slim case at right around 11 millimeters exactly, and it's just gorgeous as far as case design goes. Beautiful finishing. Now this watch is used, so you're going to see a lot of scratches. My friend who loaned it in wears his watches. He wears them proudly. He's not afraid of getting scratches, and you can see quite a few here and there on the bezel and the case, and you'll see some on the bracelet as well and clasp. But I think that's great. It's almost impossible not to get scratches on your watch if you wear it. So this one has plenty of those. But the finishing is top notch. Of course, the case back is your typical Explorer plain, but it is screw down case back there. Well, let's talk about the bezel real quick. Really high polish. I think the polished bezel really contrasts well with the satin finishing of the bracelet and the lugs on the top here. But then it also flows kind of well if you turn the watch to the side and get the polished portions of the case there and the bezel. The bezel has a nice slope to it, and I think it adds a unique feature to the watch as far as looks go. Now the crown is there, unguarded. As you can see, I measured it at just under 6 millimeters in diameter. When it's screwed down, before I unscrew it, you can see that it hugs the case very nicely when it's screwed in, and when you unscrew it, it's very easy. It pops out. It has their twin lock technology that Rolex has. In the 0 position, you of course can wind the movement. I don't know if you can hear that. Very satisfying winding to this movement, the best I've ever felt. So that's very satisfying. And of course the next position there, you can see it hacks, and that's when you can change the time. Let's get those hands out of the way and place them there, and we can screw this back in. The crown works great. I think it's a perfect size for the size of this case and fits perfectly with the design. You can see it's polished there and has the Rolex crown on the crown, and very nicely done there, and the polished really kind of goes well with the sides of the case, which is also polished. I think moving on to the dial, I think the dial is just beautiful. It's kind of got a deep black color. It's kind of hard to describe. It almost seems like a matte color, or a matte tone to it, is what I'm trying to say. But in other lights, it almost has a little gloss to it, so I'm not quite sure Maybe someone can describe it better than that. But the hands and indices are really well done, and they are not stainless steel. They are in fact white gold. So all of the indices and the hands are made out of white gold, which is something unique and cool to know. They're filled with lume on the hands and on the indices, which we'll talk about and showcase in a moment. The finish on the hands and on the indices, I can't see any blemishes in them. And of course, this is not under macro photography or anything like that, but just with the naked eye, everything is finished just greatly and top-notch quality. All the applied indices are placed perfectly as far as I can see anyway. And I think the second hand, as you can see it sweeping along there, it almost is right at the edge of the dial, so I think it's a perfect length. And then if you look at the minute hand, you can see that it's basically just touching and almost overlapping those little minute tick marks. So I think that is a great length as well, and helps with the legibility of this watch, which I think the legibility is great for sure. Beautifully engraved Rehot in there, and you can see at the 12 o'clock, you can see the little Rolex crown at the top, right up there, and then the word Rolex on either side. I think I counted 5 times on the left, Rolex is printed, and then 5 times on the right of that crown as well. And then at the bottom of the Rehot, you have the serial number of this watch there. So cool feature, pretty cool to look at. I've always liked to look at that when I've seen it. So very nice touch that many people are familiar with. There's quite a few words on the dial, but it really doesn't feel too cluttered to me. I think they're placed just right. The fonts are just right, and they did a good job. You can see the Rolex Crown and Rolex Oyster Perpetual Explorer here at the bottom half of the dial. Superlative chronometer, officially certified, and then underneath the 6 Swiss made is written there. As I mentioned, the lume is applied really well. They're using their chroma light here, which has a nice blue color, very powerful when it's charged up well. And so let me showcase that real quick right now. Well, there it is, the chroma light. Really nice, definitely has a blue hue to it, but it's so crisp and clear. And they've done a really good job on the lume, and really, like I say in a lot of my videos, you have to see it in person to really appreciate it, but very well done. Alright, well, let's talk about the bracelet as we start closing down this video. I think the bracelet is an important thing to talk about on a watch, because some of them are terrible on a lot of different brands, but Rolex has done a good job on their bracelets as far as I can tell. And this is the first one I've experienced in person, and it's good. It's really good. This is their oyster style bracelet. You can see that there's a nice taper. Tapers from 20 millimeters down to about 15.5 millimeters at the clasp. So really nice taper, really sturdy, solid bracelet, but very comfortable as well. You can see it articulates really nicely. And the finish here, of course, you can see it has a very nice brushed satin finish, and on the sides of the links, you can see that they're polished, and you can see that they're screw-in links as well. Solid end links as well, should mention that in case anybody's interested. And then, part of the bracelet is the clasp. It's sleek and has a slim profile to it. Has a nice, I don't know if you say embossed crown here on this fold over portion, and it engages firmly in this clasp. Even with this flipped open, you're not going to be able to just pull it open from the sides. It's not going to be able to be bumped and popped open anyway. you have to engage this little lever there and lift it up, and lift up that little hatch kind of thing, that little latch. And so when it's locked in, and it's doing its job. So that's really good to see. You open it up, you see the inner portion of the clasp. You see it's nicely polished, milled, it's engraved with Rolex there, and just a really solid clasp all the way around. And yeah, I should mention as well, has an easy link system on this clasp, so you're able to pop that out right there and get an extra 5 millimeters, or close it up and bring it back in another 5 millimeters. And that also is able to be adjusted. There's a couple different divots inside the clasp where with a tool you can adjust that as well and move it forward or move it backward. So that's a good touch as well, to be able to adjust it on the fly like that if you need to. So really overall, great bracelet on this watch and great clasp. Let's talk about the price. Suggested retail from Rolex, according to their website, is $6,550 USD. I'm not sure the availability of these watches at Rolex dealerships right now. I can't really speak to that, but just looking on Chrono24, these are going for higher than the suggested retail from Rolex. Saw a number of them in the $8,000 range. There were a number even higher than that, and I was looking at models just like this one, so brand new, the latest version of the Explorer. So I don't know, search around. Hopefully if you're interested, you can find one in an authorized dealer and be able to pay the suggested retail, and hopefully not have to pay more than that. And yeah, I'm not sure about that though. I don't have any first-hand experience. But yeah, that's my quick review on this watch. I'm going to get back in front of the camera and share my final verdict of the Rolex Explorer. Well, I don't think I have anything negative to say about this piece, about the Rolex Explorer. It's just an amazing watch. I've enjoyed all of the time I've had with it these past few days, and just again I say thank you to my friend for loaning it in. But it's just an iconic watch. It has a cool history. We didn't really go into the history in this video, but you can check out articles and other videos about the history of the Explorer. It's I think perfect in the dimensions, especially for someone with a little bit smaller wrists like mine. It's very comfortable. It's got a super accurate and tough Rolex in-house movement, and also it's just a gorgeous piece and very versatile. You could wear this every day casually in almost any situation, and if you wanted to, you could dress it up, wear it with a suit to a nice formal occasion or whatever the case may be. And so it's a very versatile piece as well. So there's so many things that I love about this Rolex Explorer. And let me know what you think about it down in the comments. Now just remember, as I already mentioned, this will be showcased in one more video, and that video is when I compare it to this AliExpress homage of the Explorer. So you're not going to want to miss that video where we put these two side by side. I don't think there's a lot of videos on YouTube putting a homage next to the real thing, so you're going to want to stay tuned for that video. Really excited about that. But let me know what you think about the iconic Rolex Explorer down in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and then let me know if you think I should give it back to my friend, or maybe I should just keep it. Yeah, I don't think he'd like that too much. But anyway, leave a like on this video. Please subscribe if you're not subscribed. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.